Here's a feeling anyone who's ever used SAP knows in their bones. You need to do one simple thing: raise a purchase request, check a number. And you sit there staring at the screen thinking, okay, where do I even click? The power was never the problem. SAP runs the biggest companies on earth. The problem was always finding the one door out of 1,000. So this whole episode is about the thing SAP built to fix exactly that. It's called Joule. And we're going to go all the way in what it is, what it can actually do, and everything it's grown into by 2026. Laid out the same way SAP teaches it themselves. Let's sit in the old world for a second because it's the whole reason Joule exists. Classic SAP is astonishingly powerful and famously hard to move around in. To get anywhere fast, you learn transaction codes, those short cryptic codes you type to jump straight to a screen. ME51N to create a purchase request, FB60 to post an invoice. There are hundreds of them, and for years knowing them by heart was basically a superpower on your CV. Think about how strange that is. The knowledge wasn't the business. The knowledge was the navigation. Memorizing the map of a building instead of doing the work inside it. And if you didn't know the code, you were lost in a menu tree that goes down and down and down. That is the exact friction Joule was built to delete. So, what is Joule? The simplest, honest definition. Joule is SAP's AI, built right into the software and connected to the data, the processes, and the business rules your company actually runs on. You'll hear it called a copilot, an AI assistant that works alongside you inside the app instead of in some separate window. And that's true. But here's the thing worth saying plainly. Because SAP itself moved the language in 2026. Joule isn't just a copilot anymore. SAP now positions it as its whole AI solution, the layer that turns what you want into something that actually happens across the business. There's a line I love for this. SAP already knows everything about your business, your orders, your people, your ledger. Joule just gives it a mouth. That's the shift. The knowing was always there. Now you can talk to it. Now, where do you find it? And this is the part that makes it different from a chatbot you visit. Joule isn't one website you go to. It's one assistant that shows up inside all the SAP apps you already use. The same Joule in S4HANA for finance and supply chain, in SuccessFactors for HR, in Ariba for procurement, in Concur for expenses, in Analytics Cloud for reporting, and down on BTP, the developers platform. Same assistant, same little panel wherever you happen to be working. And because it lives inside those apps, not bolted on the outside, it sits within the same security and the same data you already have access to. One door everywhere. You never go looking for it. It's already in the room. Okay, you've got Joule in front of you. What can you actually ask it to do? SAP groups it into 3 kinds of requests, and this little map is worth memorizing because everything else is built on it. First, navigational. You ask it to take you somewhere. Open my purchase requisitions. And it just goes there. No transaction code, no menu tree. Remember, ME51N. Gone. You describe the destination in words. Second, informational. This is the one SAP calls Conversational Search. You ask it a question and it answers from real knowledge. A company policy, a document, your actual business data. What's our travel expense limit? Is our preferred laptop vendor still under budget? It reads and tells you. Third, transactional. This is where it does the work. Create the requisition. Update this employee's record. Approve that. Navigational, informational, transactional. Find, know, do. And in a second you'll see there's a fourth thing it's learning to do. Handle the whole job itself. But these 3 are the grammar of talking to Joule. Now the fair question. There are 100 AI chatbots out there. Why trust this one with real company data? 3 things set it apart, and they're exactly what an enterprise cares about. First, it knows who you are. Joule sees your role, your permissions, the record you already have open. So when you ask about my requisitions, it knows exactly whose and which. Second, it's grounded. It doesn't answer from stuff it read on the internet. It fetches your real records first, then answers. That's the whole idea of grounding, and it's the spine of this entire channel. Third, and this is the one people miss, it doesn't get around your security. It inherits it. Joule can only ever see and do what you personally are already allowed to. It's built for accuracy over cleverness and for showing its reasoning instead of just sounding confident. Knows you. Grounded in your data. Bound by your permissions. That's the difference between a party trick and something you'd let near real money. Here's where 2026 gets interesting, and where just a copilot really stops being the right word. Joule has grown into a small ecosystem, 4 parts that fit together, and once you can name them, the whole SAP AI conversation suddenly makes sense. There's Joule Work, the place you go to get things done. Joule Assistants, expert helpers tuned to your job. Joule Agents, the ones that actually go off and do multi-step work. And Joule Skills, the individual abilities they're all built from. Work, assistants, agents is skills. Let's take them one at a time. Start with Joule Work. Think of it as the workspace, the front door where you tell Joule what you're trying to achieve in plain language, and it pulls together whatever's needed to get it done. Back to our example. You type, I need to raise a purchase requisition for the new laptops, and check our preferred vendor is still under budget. That's not one click. That's a little project. It needs a number checked, an app opened, a form filled. In Joule Work, you state the goal once, and it assembles the pieces behind the scenes. The data to answer the budget question, the right assistant, the steps to create the requisition. You describe the what. It figures out the how. That's the shift from clicking through software to just stating your intent. Next, Joule Assistants. And this is a genuinely 2026 idea. Instead of one generic AI that knows a little about everything, SAP gives you assistants tuned to a specific role. Think of them as expert teammates. A finance assistant that thinks in ledgers and closings. An HR assistant that lives in people and policies. A procurement assistant that knows sourcing and suppliers. When you ask for something, the right assistant picks up your intent, understands it in the language of that job, and then coordinates the agents underneath to actually carry it out. So our requisition request lands with the procurement assistant because that's its world. Same Joule you talk to. But behind the panel, it's the specialist for your job that answers, not a generalist guessing. Now the part everyone's talking about, Joule Agents. An agent is AI that doesn't just answer, it acts, it takes a goal and works through the steps to finish it on its own. Where a copilot helps you do one thing, an agent can handle a whole sequence. Chase 3 overdue payments, onboard a new supplier, run the follow-ups. And in 2026, they can even work together. A finance agent handing off to a logistics agent, no human wiring it up in between. But this is the part that lets SAP put agents into companies running real payroll and real money. Every action an agent takes is governed, recorded, and reversible. And at the moments that count, it stops and asks a human before it commits. That pause isn't the AI being weak. In a system running payroll and ledgers, it's the entire point. Power on a leash you hold. We go much deeper on agents later this season. For now, that's the 4th thing Joule learned to do. Last piece of the ecosystem, Joule Skills. If agents and assistants are the workers, skills are the individual things they know how to do. One skill creates a purchase requisition. One drafts a job posting. One looks up a policy. SAP ships thousands of these out of the box. The last count was around 2500, and they map straight back to those 3 types from earlier: navigational, informational, transactional. Find, know, do. And when the standard skills don't cover something your business needs, you build your own in a place called Joule Studio, SAP's tool for creating custom Joule skills and agents, which went generally available at the start of 2026. So the whole thing is composable. Skills stack into assistants, assistants, direct agents, and all of it shows up as the one Joule you talk to. Quick reality check, because this is where a lot of excitement meets a wall. Joule doesn't just appear because you want it. There are prerequisites and they're worth knowing before you promise your boss a demo on Friday. First, you need to be on the cloud versions of SAP. Joule rides on the modern cloud stack, not the old system in your basement. That was our whole point last episode. The cloud is the launch pad. Second, underneath it, you need SAP's AI foundation running on BTP. That's the engine room that makes any of this possible, and we'll give it its own episode. Third, the boring but critical bit. Identities and permissions have to be set up properly. Because remember, Joule inherits your security, so your security has to actually exist first. And yes, it's a licensed commercial product, someone has to turn it on and pay for it. None of this is a reason not to. It's just the honest checklist between cool demo and live in your company. One last thing, and honestly it might be the most useful minute in this whole video. SAP renames and rescopes this stuff constantly. Half the facts about SAP AI floating around online are already 12 months stale. A feature that got renamed, a roadmap promise treated like it already shipped. So the real skill isn't memorizing today's names, it's knowing where to check. SAP News for what launch it, the SAP Help Portal for how a thing actually works, the SAP Community for how real practitioners use it, the Roadmap Explorer to see what's live versus what's still coming, and the SAP Learning Site, free courses including the exact Introducing Joule one. This episode is built to mirror. Get those bookmarked and always ask one question of any claim. Is this generally available today, or is it still on the roadmap? That habit alone will make you the most trustworthy person about AI in your SAP team. Before we wrap, one picture that ties the whole episode together and points straight at the next one. Ask a generic AI, the kind that read the entire internet, but has never once seen inside your company. Is our preferred laptop vendor still under budget? It will write you a smooth, confident answer. And it will be completely made up, because it has never seen your budget. Joule reads the actual number from your actual system and tells you the truth, even when the truth is boring. One is guessing, the other is grounded. That gap right there is the whole game. And it's exactly what the next episode is about. So what does all of this mean for you? If your career runs on SAP, let's be straight about it. For years, a big part of the job was knowing the machine, the transaction codes, the menu paths, the exact screen for the exact task. Joule quietly takes that part over. And that can feel threatening until you notice what it leaves behind. When anyone can just ask the system, the value stops being I memorized the map. It becomes I know what to ask, and I can tell when the answer is wrong. Understanding the business, designing the process, catching the mistake the confident AI made, that's the work now, and it's more valuable, not less. Joule doesn't replace the SAP professional who gets this. It hands them a much faster tool. The people who learn to drive it are about to look like magicians. So that's Joule, the whole state of it in 2026. We started with that stuck feeling, where do I even click? And the answer now is you don't. You just ask. We got to know it, one assistant inside every app that you talk to in three ways: navigational, informational, transactional. Find, know, do. We met the ecosystem it grew into: work, assistants, agents, and skills. We covered what you need to switch it on and where to keep your facts current. And under all of it sits the one idea this whole channel keeps circling: grounding. Joule is only useful because it answers from your data instead of guessing, which is the perfect place to go next. Because the obvious question is, why can't I just point ChatGPT at my SAP and get the same thing? That question has a fascinating answer, and it's the entire next episode. See you there.